some discussion of upcoming 3.14 changes with Space Cutlet, alright?
Egg has been planted.
Recently, a well-known Discord, besides the patch notes they leaked, they dumped the info overall about what changes that are upcoming, what are they meant to do, and what developers think about it, what are the goals. And we have that info. It's on a paste bin as usual, so we can go through it and read it. And we're now gonna do a bit of a speculation. So let's switch to this screen and let's just literally start reading and discussing it, okay? Dear Star Citizen players, Star Citizen Alpha 3.14 has a lot of changes when it comes to spaceship and vehicle-based combat due to the introduction of capacitor gameplay, power management, V2 and missile operator mode. We had the opportunity to review and rebalance almost all of our combat stats. We will now cover below the design, goals and changes for shields, weapons and ships. Shields, design goals. We want fast regenerating shields on fighters, okay? My question is, do they want also fast diminishing shields on fighters? They didn't state it here, and considering I'm a pleb, I don't have access, I don't know that. We want smaller ships needing to grind through bigger shields very slowly rather than butt against, it's probably what they mean, rather than fight against insta-regen. I think this is bad. I don't agree with that. We will see how that works on paper. I totally don't agree with that, because I think bigger shields should have a certain threshold you have to overcome. Maybe it's too big right now. But I think a bigger ships should have a certain threshold of shield regeneration. Smaller ships have to overcome to even be able to deal damage. I think the middle ground would be here, introducing out of combat regen and in combat regen. So basically, instead of a combat regen delay, they should create in combat regen speed when shields are suppressed by fire, and then out of combat regen when after a certain time when no damage is taken by shields, they regen faster. I think that would be the best solution. But removing, if I'm reading this correctly, and they're completely removing insta regen of the big shields, that means any shithead could destroy an Idris if enough time given. I mean, obviously Idris will have protection and all that, but there should be a limit to that. This doesn't seem good for me. This is just another motivation for people to think, I'll better get a lot of small fighters, because grind through bigger shields very slowly is a very relative term. Depends on how you define very slowly. I think there should be a threshold. If you cannot go above the threshold, like of a carrot or something, well, bring more firepower. From the other hand, I think that threshold sometimes is too big. And I agree. What I think they should do, and I'll repeat myself, I said that again. I think there should be in combat regen and out of combat regen. We want players to feel more in control of what their shields are doing. Okay, that means nothing for me. Again, that's design goals, right? That's just the goals they set, right? Shield regen rate is dictated by the power triangle. Brief. The changes to shields are not very extensive, however, for initial release, but we have removed a couple of non-player facing delays and tried to split the generator sizes for certain ship classes. Once again, the changes to shields are not very extensive, however, for the initial release, but we have removed, it feels like some parts of sentence are missing constantly in this patch note. But we removed a couple of non-player facing delays. I don't know what is non-player facing delays. Size 0 and size 4. No changes, as those sizes currently only contain vehicle-specific shield generators. Okay, understandable. Size 1. High regen to HP ratio. Low HP overall. Okay, so we're getting back to here, and this answers my question. We want fast regenerating shields and fighters, right? Let's tune down the music. High regen to HP ratio. Low HP overall. So little shields just to protect you from shots, but they recover quickly. Typically used on small fighters and transporters. Bubble shields only. So bubble shields only is there is no shield sides, and you have the overall HP of your shield. And I was advocating for this for quite a while. It's good they listened, it's good they did that. That's fine. Size 2, normal regen to HP ratio. So you get your full HP from 0 slower than size 1, about 4 times more HP compared to size 1. Typically used on heavy fighters and larger ships, Freelancer Vanguard. Bubble shields only. So I never fought in a 314 because I don't have access to Evocati. But unless it's easier now to aim at light fighters or just like normal, like medium size 1 fighters, I would say about 4 times more HP compared to size 1 will make size 2 ships just meat, complete meat. So if they actually remove the insta regen of size 2 shields, which I don't know, 4 times HP more compared to size 1, it means these shields will actually last less than on size 1 shields, because just some time on target, right? If there is no insta regen for size 2s, and they never stated, they just said this, we want smaller ships needing to grind through bigger shields very slowly, rather than fight against insta regen. So I have no understanding if they removed insta regen on size 2. If they completely removed it, then having 4 times more shield pool compared to size 1 will not save you, because they will go down faster than size 1s because of like time on target, because it's easy to keep time on target on size 2 ships. So this is why I was talking about it previously. It's a if there is no instant regen, it is a death sentence to like ships like Vanguards and all that shit. They'll just get melted. They'll lose the shields instantly because they're just too big. Until I see it, I'll consider this as a bad change. Maybe something is different and I'm wrong, but until I see how it works and what is there an instant regen or not, I will consider this to be not a good change overall too. They are already underpowered, and this will make them even more underpowered, but we have to see. Bubble shields only. So, okay, bubble shields only. My idea was size 1 should be bubble shields, size 2 should be front backwards, size 3 should be 4 sides, size 4 like capital shields should be 6 sides, so the 4 and top and bottom. But I don't know if it's a temporary thing for CAG. Maybe they just didn't have time to implement back what we had in 2.6, like front back shields, right? Maybe they will, but for now size 2 will remain just as shields. Oh, I'm looking forward for the changes, don't get me wrong. Overall, this is a very good direction. Okay, size 3, large multi-crew ship sizes, about 10 times more HP compared to size 2. So that means 40 times more than a size 1. It may sound big, but if there is no instant regen, 40 times more than a size 1, if you can constantly fire it like 100% time on target, that's not a lot. It's not 400 times more, it's 40 times more, right? So you gotta understand that. Not 400, not 4,000 times more. So saying about slowly, and that's what I said, very slowly is a very relative term. It's a very relative term. And what I feel is there a lot of decisions are in... Okay. Don't get me wrong, anyone, right? I'm not trying to trash talk someone, or I'm not trying to say some players are better than other players, but I think few of these changes are affected by a certain part of PvP community who are dedicated to certain gameplay style and they try to influence it. And those groups of players are mostly dogfighting players. And what do you want to do as a dogfighter player in terms of balance? You want to be able to do everything in your dogfighter. So you don't want any insta regens. You don't want anything. so you can deal with everything just with your own dogfighter, right? And that's what worries me. I think a lot of changes are now arena commander driven, and with the total disregard to how bigger ships are gonna be swarmed and annihilated by the smaller ships. But that's my guess. I hope I'm wrong, and I will be glad to be wrong. Again, I'm not trying to rant. I've heard that actually turrets are better now. We're yet to see. I'm really on guard with this through bigger shields very slowly and then reading the shield amounts. I'm very... I don't want to say negative because I'm not. We're yet to see that, but it's very questionable. Very questionable. So here we go. Typically used on heavy multi-crew ships, quad faces or above. I think it should have been bubble shields only, dual faces, quad faces, and then size 4 above. We will see. That's the first iteration. We have to understand that, right? That's literally the first iteration. Additionally, the following changes apply. Shield generators in the same class temporarily all have the same stats to aid the initial balancing pass. I was talking about that for too long. CAG overcomplicated their system and they're totally, completely drowning in their own values. That should have been done long ago. We don't need all this A grades for now before the game doesn't work properly. This should be added later. Completely agree with this. Should be gone because everyone will just go and equip the size grade A in 99% of cases. Who in their sane mind ever used military ship shields and didn't equip like FRs? No one. That means those are useless, right? Shield hardening has been removed as it didn't produce interesting gameplay changes. Of course, one of the most problematic things with it was you cannot quickly click it. We will redevelop it at a later point. Good. Again, as with the types of shields, I talked about it for so many times, you have to remove redundant and not use mechanics because you just drown yourself in values. Very good. Thank you, CG. The shield UI has changed slightly, okay? Nothing to talk about here. We will see it when it's there. A lot of time dynamics in the shield regen process have been removed to make it easier to predict when the shields will be up again. Probably they're talking about the power to shield, so it doesn't speed up now, it's just straightforward, simple. I don't know. The regen rate is dictated by the power triangle. Logical, I mean, yeah, we'll see how that works. I would really want to have this out of combat and in combat regen. You can like balance a lot of stuff with that in terms of shields. Powering off one shield generator will remove the shield properties from the shield system, half HP and regen if you turn off one of 2 generators. Okay, understandable. I mean, but I think that worked as that previously too. Well, the only mystery is about the instant regen. They never said anything about it. I'm all up for the logic of bigger HP pools, but less regen. That's good. I just want that little, at least, like insta regen. So you have to like go through something. You have to breach some kind of threshold. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. It is better for scaling of the combat. Having that in combat regen is better for scaling of the combat. Weapons. Design goals. Weapon loadout must matter and be meaningful. 100% agree. Look at me tweaking in MechWarrior Online. I spend more time in a mech lab, understanding what I need compared to playing. Players should choose carefully when to employ the weapons. I agree. Tapping down the fire button should not be a valid combat strategy. I agree. Every weapon should have pros and cons. I agree. Energy weapon regen rate is dictated by the power triangle. Okay. Make player control turrets more powerful.
I agree.
I still think sticky aiming will be the final solution to making them really powerful. So people like, I want to go in a turret. Let's wreck them. Let me in that turret. Brief. There are a lot of updates concerning weapons and their new associated capacitors and how ammo and regen distribution works for energy weapons. In 3.14, every ship has a capacitor item that produces ammo, quote-unquote, for energy guns. This item is not visible, but in future we want to make proper swappable item out of it. Out of capacitor or capacitor item that... Oh, okay. The item, like the capacitor itself, like probably for further tweaking of how ammo is replenished for energy guns. Ammo, like the charges, if you may. The charges. I don't know why they called it ammo. Just call them charges, because people will get confused. Yeah, capacitor to be a new component type. That's correct. That's a good thing you can balance out and tweak and tune. Do you want fast cooldowns in between the bursts so it gets you ammo faster, or do you want, for example, more charges for a strafe run and then go for a longer cooldown? So like that is just they just don't have to do it now, and they're not doing it now because we need to dial in first the basic stuff, right? Two variables come into play here: regen, how fast the ship can replenish energy ammo. Ammo load, just charges. Call it charges. It makes no sense to call it ammo. How much energy ammo the ship can hold at the same time. Okay. Both regen and ammo load are distributed across all powered energy weapon. Listen here carefully. This is important. This is something important. This is something that really have to do with the mixed loadouts and how things work. This is not to be just missed, okay? Both regen and ammo load are distributed across all powered energy weapons on a ship. So if you have one energy cannon and two energy repeaters, you have the choice to disable the energy repeaters. The ammo load and regen will then be distributed completely to the energy cannon. That means that one energy cannon will not just be able to hold more ammo, but it will also regenerate faster. So you can have mixed loadouts if you're having energy cannons and repeaters, and if you're fighting a fighter, you can disable your cannons to get more juice to repeaters, right? Makes some kind of sense, right? Mixed loadouts will make sense. We will see if they do, actually, but in addition, we gave each weapon category an intended purpose. Energy repeaters size 1 to size 4. Dedicated anti-fighter weapons should be the most dangerous energy weapons against fighters. Normal regen and ammo load cost. Yeah, I mean, logical, right? Thank you. Energy repeaters size 5 plus. Dedicated anti-large ship weapons. A relatively high fire rate to keep larger multi-crew ships shields under strain. Normal regen and ammo load cost. But what's the difference? They're not like specifying what's the difference. Why exactly size 4 and then size 5? Does it strain our size 1 to size 4 will not strain the bigger shields? Like what? What's the catch? Would be good to know. Energy cannons size 1 to size 4 fighter carried anti-large ship weapons should not be very effective in dogfighting against other fighter classes. Why? Regen and ammo cost load is reduced to make it more efficient than repeaters. I'm itching to talk about armor right now. Projectile speeds does not matter if you shoot them in the face from like 50 meters. That's one of my big worries. I think what they're doing here, and before like days ago I looked into values, how they're trying to balance, they're increasing the DPS for cannons. I think when the dust settles after the patch is live, players will just find ways to utilize cannons if they have a higher DPS compared to repeaters. If they have higher DPS, to utilize them in dogfighting. I haven't tried, yet again, I will repeat it. I haven't tried 3.14, but there is always a way, usually. So I think what's gonna happen, players will just, like proper players, clever players, will just find a way to utilize cannons, to use them against fighters, and just abuse the high DPS. I'm very itchy to talk about the armor right now, because I think it's not the DPS that should matter in cannons. It's the alpha that should matter in cannons, that should penetrate the armor. Something, and then like cannons should be lower DPS than repeaters, but they provide a great alpha that is not comparable to a shitty alpha of repeaters. And then you use that alpha to penetrate armor. But then again, at least the basic armor, how we talk about it, should be in game, so it makes sense. Regen and ammo load cost is reduced to make it more efficient than repeaters. Energy cannon size 5+, dedicated and large ship weapons. Very, very low fire rate, very high damage. Regen and ammo load cost is reduced to make it more efficient than repeaters. My fear is that this thing will just bring in the flick shot meta back. I think CH, with what I read, judging by this text and this text only, okay? This text only. I have not played it, I might be wrong, but judging by this, I think the flick shot meta will be back, and it will be, yes, yes, now we can flick shot again, like, bah, 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 bah. You know, that's what's gonna happen. And if you haven't seen the worst days of flick shot meta, it was just annoying. It gets annoying. It gets super annoying. Again, we have to see how the ships fly to make any judgments, but okay. Ballistic weapons have the same RPM as energy weapons of the same class, except for some specialized weapons. Higher damage output compared to energy weapons and penetrate shields. Higher range compared to energy weapons. We want ballistics to be specialized weapons. Specialized in what, though? I'm not getting what they mean when they say specialized. Specialized in what? I don't know. It will be the I go to Port All-Star, kill a few guys and go to Daymar to reload thing. Because like ballistics right now, ballistics, just looking at this few phrases, just sounds like an OP stuff that everyone will abuse to kill 1 or 2 guys and then go restock. What's the downside besides the ammo count? Is there any kind of downside? I don't know. It's gonna be pretty simple. Either the ammo will not be enough for any kind of engagement and no one will use it, or the ammo will be enough for some sort of a short engagement and few kills, and then you just say get wrecked noob and you warp out to Daymar to restock, right? It should be more than this. Like ballistics, for example, should be bad at taking down shields. Again, if we had the armor we are talking about, what that would do is, for example, even like a super hornet or a hornet has an armor of 10 or like 20, and when you hit with ballistics through the shields, when the shields are still up, right? That's what I mean, when the shields are still up. So you mitigate half of, like, you bleed through the shield some ballistical damage, but because there is armor, that ballistical like input is not enough to even like deal any damage, right? So that bleed is ineffective. But then with that bleed, you lose some damage on the shield, so you're basically not neither deal damage through the shields because the ship is somewhat armored, nor you actually do good on the shields themselves. So something like that. But again, we don't have that armor. Simple tier 0 armor like it should have been. We don't have it, so this seems for now just too OP. Because that's what's gonna be. Kill 2-3 people, noobs, go get replenished. And then every time you run away and excuse you are out of ammo. Ballistics are very strong alpha strike weapons. Like, ballistics are not supposed to be good choice for long duration engagements. I think there should be more downsides than this in terms of balance. Ballistics should feel limited in terms of ammo, but very powerful when you employ them. That's the problem. Everyone will employ them. Everyone will employ them, and when you run out of ammo, it already doesn't matter because everyone is dead. That's my personal feeling. I think this is not a very good approach. I understand what they're trying to do here, but I genuinely think this will not work out good, at least for the next 3 years, 2 or 3 years, until like duration of the engagements will change. I think there should be something else. Scatterguns, energy and ballistic, they're now specialized short-range weapons. It tells us nothing. High risk reward, it tells us nothing. Very high damage output that cannot be employed as easy as before. Again, doesn't tell us anything. I feel scatterguns should stop being anti-capital or sub-capital or anti-big ship weapons. I think that is the only thing I think. They should stop being anti-big ship weapons. You don't hunt bears with a buckshot or bird shot, sorry. You don't hunt bears with a bird shot. I think scatterguns should be an anti-smaller ship weapons. They should tighten the spread, make them not OP against lighter ships, but make them so you can better deal with mosquitoes basically around you with them, but on a short range. And that again goes to my armor talk. If the armor was done like this, it would make total sense because it would render scatterguns useless against big armor targets, right? Distortion changes will come later. It needs a lot more discussion. An entire tackle and interception mechanic. I wonder, discussion with whom? That's my real question. Discussion with whom? For tackle and interception mechanic and distortion. There are a very limited amount of people who are actually knowledgeable on that subject and actually know what game has to do in that kind of sense and what would be fun. And I don't even know if a single person of that like demographic group is an Evocati. Weapon loadouts. To reflect the intended gameplay changes, we adopted a lot of the default loadouts on some ships. Defensive ship turrets should now always be equipped with energy repeaters. Good. I hated cannons on turrets. It never made sense. Offensive ship turrets are supposed to be equipped with either energy repeaters or energy cannons. Okay. No turret has scatterguns due to the limited range. Great. No turret should have ballistics equipped unless it's for a special role like a dropship. Logical. Scatterguns should be not default equipped as they are specialized weapons. Good. On all default loadouts, energy weapons should make up at least 50% of all equipped weapons. Good. By default, Fire Group 1 should usually be assigned to energy weapons, Fire Group 2 to ballistics. Okay. Of course, players are free to customize their ships as they want. This is just for the default loadout. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thrusters and ship tuning. Design goals. Tune each ship towards the role that it should fulfill. Do not have a best ship for everything. Read Talon. G numbers should make sense based on the fighter class. I mean, wait. We will not have a Freelancer Max having an upstrafe more than any fighter? I will miss that. G numbers should make sense based on the fighter class. G numbers should reflect what humans can roughly endure. That's weird. Like, we can endure what? Like, I don't know. Like, we can watch those videos with the face melting pilots and testing in this thingy, right? 9 Gs. I mean, we can take more. Humans can take more, but for how fucking long? So this is kind of weird. Like, we have this science fiction like technologies and all that. Boost former afterburner, former boost, because it was boost. Give you only a short time advantage, but player must make a conscious choice to employ it. Boost regen is dictated by the power triangle. Avoid nose-to-nose combat. Basically, they want to avoid this, right? Avoid nose-to-nose combat. Make ships different enough to allow varied combat geometry. Discourage pip wiggling and other movement scripts. Boost regen rate is dictated by the power triangle. Brief. We are now trying to tune the ships towards their intended role. That means tuning the ships so they fit within expected performance envelope for the things they were designed to do while having very clear pros and cons. Okay. Light fighters, Gladius, example, Gladius, excels as 1 versus 1 dogfights or swarm tactics, low durability, highest agility, excels with lateral accelerations, high rotation rate, boost effects, mostly lateral acceleration. Probably that's gonna be a #1 fighter now, because lateral accelerations are everything in this game. I hope they will introduce sooner or later some personal skill, like the G resistance. It's like we're getting into RPG territory with this. I don't think CAG wants that. Like, maybe like some augmentations, so you gotta kind of decide what's like good in your character. We'll see. Yeah, I don't think there will be any kind of 2005 character progression in Star Citizen. Maybe some kind of augmentations, so you can like bionics, like whatever, to like specialize your character in something, like maybe in FPS. Like you can either be have better G resistance, or maybe you have a less recoil in your FPS gun, right? So I don't know. Again, that is next level. You don't do that until the core is like golden, right? Until the core is there, you don't do that shit. And yeah, you pay for that. That would be a good probably addition in future. You pay for that the moment you die and your clone is activated. You gotta buy them all over again, just like in EVE Online. No, well, G suits is like the basics. Like G suits, yeah. You should probably like a fighter pilot suits should give you more G tolerance, like in game, compared to wearing like armor, like FPS armor, for example, right? But then again, you can have like some like just augmentation, character augmentations, because we're in future, right? We can have that will do it a bit more, like a bit more G tolerance, you know, or you can have like augmentations that will give you better FPS guns recoil, and you have to choose, are you a guy who's like doing dropships, like who's a trooper in a dropship, or are you actually a pilot who is fighting, right? Or like, I don't know. Again, that is the next layer of balancing and game content and like building your character that should not be touched until the basic core is golden. If they can dive into that before dealing with the core stuff, this is, again, we're gonna get into the territory of overclocks, shield hardening, and useless shit that just where you drawn in values because it doesn't work with this and then it works with that, and like there is a meta and everyone does this ritual every time they start their ship. Overclock this 2 taps forward, and then it gets removed because it's a ritual no one needs, and every single pilot does that, right? So let's not get into the imagined territory of like additional character modifications before the game actually plays, right? It may rely on ships. Ships here have artificial gravity, kind of fights the real G's, so there could be some additional G tolerance, right? Okay, that's just speculation. Let's move on. Interceptor interdictors excels at forward acceleration, low durability. I mean, we all know that the best interceptor interdictor is Carrack, right? KW. Low durability, carries often specialized equipment, highest forward acceleration, otherwise average agility, boost effects, mostly forward acceleration. I hope they will look into maximum speeds sooner rather than later, and I hope the maximum speeds of ships will be dictated by the at least forward acceleration. It should be the fastest axis, but for now, majority of ships have their fastest axis as a forward acceleration, and I hope that will dive into interceptor interdictors actually benefiting because of that, so they can catch up and not let someone warp out. That would be good. Boost effects, mostly forward acceleration. All right. Medium fighters, F7C, Hornet excels at a high loadout flexibility due to more hard points and equipment choice. Average agility, average durability, boost effects all axes equally. Now here's the thing. If this ship had the armor we want to see, right? It's our armor. Let's call it our armor. For someone who does not know what I'm talking about, if someone is like not the usual visitor to my channel, what we mean when we say our armor is a basic tier 0 implementation of the armor. They did like it as a basic resistances, which is wrong. I'm talking about the absolute value of armor on the ship that is deducted from the projectile damage every time the projectile hits. So you make it more resistant to basically lower projectile damage guns like scatter guns and ballistic repeaters. And then the good way to fight it is more alpha guns, right? So if a Hornet has like an armor of like whatever 10, 20, that will mitigate like half of repeater damage, that would actually make it armored, right? That would actually make it armored and soak in more damage from repeaters. But then it will be still quite prone to heavier cannons, you know what I mean? That would be not bad, but as I understand, they just added more HP to it for now, judging by the average durability. Heavy fighters, Vanguard, excels at prolonged combat, N versus N engagements. Can anyone explain? What is N versus N engagements? Like multiple numbers versus multiple numbers? What does that mean? Only fighter class allowed to equip men turrets, size 2 shields, and heavy weaponry. Poor agility, boost effects, all accesses equally. On my memory, Vanguards were worse in a multiple engagements, well, when there is not a one-on-one engagement. I don't know how they achieved this, or is it just an intention, but does it really excels at this right now? Wait, so is it nose versus nose, or multiple people versus multiple people? Chat, come on, decide. One of the most bad things to do in a Vanguard was to get into the non-one-on-one fight, because Vanguard has no cross-section tanking. It just takes all the shit. And considering size 2 shields are only 4 times bigger than size 1s, if they remove the instant regen, Vanguard should melt pretty quickly. I don't know the amount of HP, hull HP they gave him, so that's a question. I've talked about like the turrets on a Vanguard to some people, made my old point about it should have a better turrets. Obviously, I don't expect that to happen anytime soon, but maybe someday. The boost, former Afterburner, was reworked to offer only short-term advantages and discourage constant use. The amount of boost available is dictated by the thruster capacitor charge. You can see that. See the state on the HUD when you use it. It should not be the short-term limitation of boost anymore. Boost need minimum capacitor charge to engage. Engaging boost is not instant, but it needs to spool up for the short time before it's actually engaged. Boost not just affects the linear axis, but also rotational acceleration is very useful on the bigger ships. It's like an Elite Dangerous, right? Boost has a minimum cost when employed and regen delay after boost has a minimum cost when employed and regen delay after use, okay? The space break does not automatically enable boost anymore. There is an option though. I think the space break should be a totally different mechanic, and I think space break should have its own bar and work differently. That's unpopular opinion. Most ships have been updated in terms of how much HP they have on the hull and some items. I hopefully think like a Hurricane at least has like 2-3 times more, 4 times more HP. Certain elements like wings are more sturdy now and won't fall off easily. Ship parts that carry a lot of items, example Vanguard engine nacelles, are much sturdier. Okay, good. What we need from you? They need from me nothing, so we'll skip that. The questions they're asking: do the weapons feel right or too strong or limited? Is the ammo load of energy weapons high enough? Do ballistics weapons have enough ammo to their purpose? The ballistic weapons feel limited but powerful. Are cannons less suitable against fighters but good against larger ships? Are there any outliers in terms of damage, RPM, regen costs? Are there any ships that seem to have an unsuitable weapon loadout? Are turrets deadlier than before? Are ships pulling the expected amount of Gs? Does the agility of the ship feel right compared to its intended role? Does the amount of regen rate boost feel okay? Do you see more varied maneuvering in PvP? Are ships variants similar to each other? Are there ships that have the wrong shield generators mounted? Are there ships which seem too tanky for its class? Are there ships which seem too flaky? Are there any ships that insta-regen shields? So probably they are actually removing it. Okay. It's bad. We'll see how it works out. I think it's bad. Does it feel better or worse than 3.13? Do you always need to use the same strategy to win? Do you have all the information you need to make a meaningful combat decisions? Are there obvious obstacles destroying the fun? Is there fun? Is there fun? Are the power triangle assignments too strong? Okay, that was fun reading through. It took us quite a lot of time. I like majority of the changes. I almost had an urge to play a bit of Star Citizen, but I'm not gonna do it. Nope. I appreciate you all being here with me for this little talk. Unfortunately, if you're only here for Star Citizen, I'm gonna go play another game. I'm anticipating 3.14, but before that thing is released, I'm not gonna play it. There is nothing to do in that game. It's dead. It's completely dead.